Hi, it's Fjorg the Builder again, and today we're going to continue to go through the Eberron book and the models that came with the Eberron miniature set, and we're going to talk about character creation, and mostly specifically we're going to talk about races. And we're going to speak about the ones that are unique to the Eberron setting, that are either first being introduced or finally covered in official print. The first of these races would be the changeling, and we have a changeling model here. Changeling history is interesting. Most of it's derived from legend, but they attribute their ability to change shape to the god the Traveler, which a lot of us are going to be introduced to the Traveler in season 2 of Critical Role. But they speak of the Traveler here specifically in how he granted them the ability by hiding them beneath his cloak to change their faces. Changelings can be accepted and not accepted at the same time. These are individuals that don't necessarily show their true selves to those around them. There may be even a persona that an entire community of changelings adopt. Each time you meet this individual in the market, it could be a completely different person within the changeling tribe or clan that is taking that person's form. The unique ability for the changeling is their shape changer, and it's an action, and they can change their appearance and their voice. This doesn't change any of their features. They don't adopt any of the racial abilities of another species. And also, they can't change their height. So they remain the same height and build, but they are changing their voice and their face, their skin pigmentation. They can adopt a new gender or supposedly also become genderless. And that is the changeling. The book also will talk about how each of the existing races mixes into the Eberron setting. And we're not really going to review that, except for there is a section here in the elf. It talks about a double-bladed scimitar, and this is a kind of an interesting weapon that it doesn't exist currently in Dungeons & Dragons in the player's handbook, but they're introducing it here. It's worth about 100 gold pieces. And it's a double-bladed scimitar attached with a shaft of wood. And a double-bladed scimitar is a martial weapon, weighing about 6 pounds, and it does 2d4 slashing damage on a hit. It has a two-handed property and the following special property. If you attack with a double-bladed scimitar as part of the attack action on your turn, you can use a bonus action immediately after to make a melee attack with it. This attack deals 1d4 slashing damage on a hit instead of 2d4. They also included a feat that is unique to the elf. This is the first feat that I've found in this section. You're descended from a master of double-bladed scimitar, and some of the mastery has passed on to you. So it allows you to increase your dex or your strength by 1. While you're holding a double-bladed scimitar with 2 hands, you gain a +1 bonus to armor class. And double-bladed scimitar has the finesse property while wielding it. Pretty valuable feat for a 4th level or higher elf character. And that is because the double-bladed scimitar is part of elven culture. If someone that isn't an elf is found with a double-bladed scimitar, they're usually looked down upon when you're dealing with the Tar Nadal elves. They will think you stole it or defeated an elf to take it. Moving on, we go to the goblinoids. They didn't include goblinoid creature models in this set, but I cover them because, once again, we find that we have them listed again. Goblinoid creatures are listed in Volo's Guide to Monsters, but you can also get them here in the Eberron book, where we have the bugbear, the goblin, the hobgoblin included. And then what's interesting is they'll cover orcs here when they also cover forget where that's at. But they cover orcs and half-orcs. But they'll give you the racial features of an orc later on. The next unique race is the Kalashtar. And here's the Kalashtar male model and the Kalashtar female model. So Kalashtar tend to be good aligned creatures because they have bonded to lawful spirits. These spirits kind of... Kalashtar don't dream. They actually go into the thoughts and memories of their quarry, which is the positive spirit that they are bonded to at birth. Kalashtar have some psionic ability in the sense that they can resist psionic damage, and they have advantage on wisdom saving throws. They can also communicate telepathically with one creature. They choose this creature at their own discretion. That creature can actually communicate back to them with that connection. Oh, and orcs and half-orcs, as I was saying, comes up next. Kalashtar, when they sleep, they don't dream. They don't go to the plane of dreams as other creatures. They draw from memories of their otherworldly spirit instead. So the Kalashtar are quite interesting. And it's another race with finally a wisdom score increase of 2. So if you're looking for that nice starting cleric or want to boost that wisdom stat for your ranger, Kalashtar might not be a bad way to go. Cleric definitely would make sense since these are typically good aligned. As we look in the alignment, the noble spirit tied to the Kalashtar drives it towards lawful and good behaviors. Most Kalashtar combine strong self-discipline with compassion for all beings. With some Kalashtar resist the virtuous influence of their spirit. So Kalashtar, if you're looking at classes that are going to make use of wisdom, we have cleric, we have ranger, and we have monk to draw from. And as I was saying, the orc traits are here. They have, specifically to them, they have aggression. As a bonus action, you move up to your speed towards an enemy of your choice. That you can see here, you must end this move closer to the enemy than you started. It's an interesting little feature here. You can essentially do a dash action to charge, and then a bonus action to get on another 30 feet of movement. Very useful for closing a gap, but also will be useful where you move up to an opponent and say this orc player character finishes that opponent in combat. They can then use their bonus action to move to the next target and tie that next target up into combat. Great defensive ability for an orc that may be trying to defend allies. The next section here is the shifter, and we have 2 shifter models here. This would be a shifter who has shifted and has taken on more beast-like appearance and look. And then this would be a shifter. This is considered the wild hunt shifter. So this is a shifter that hasn't shifted, but is more humanoid in appearance. Shifters have 4 base animal heritages. The beast within, they call it. There's the beast hide, the long tooth, the swift stride, and the wild hunt. Shifters are humanoid. They mature quite early in life and live about 70 years. And their features are going to be bonded pretty closely to that beast within. What's also unique about the shifter is a lot of times when you have sub-races, you'll get a primary trait that's shifter, and then a secondary trait as far as ability score that is gifted to that sub-race. With the shifter, both primary and secondary ability score improvement comes from their beast within. They all have dark vision, they all have the shifting ability, and then each of these beasts within provides something different. Where we have the beast hide, which is constitution and strength. They all give you a skill. And the beast hide has a really interesting feature. So you shift as a bonus action. You can do it once per short or long rest. And whenever you shift, you gain 1d6 additional temporary hit points. While shifted, you have a +1 bonus to armor class. So if we look over here to shifting, as a bonus action, you can assume more bestial appearance. You transformation lasts a minute or until you die, and you revert back to your normal appearance as a bonus action. So when you shift, you gain temporary hit points equal to your level plus your constitution modifier. And the beast hide gets an additional d6 to that. So quite a lot of temporary hit points there. This is definitely a great feature for, I would say, like a barbarian, especially early level barbarian, that doesn't want to waste their barbarian rages, but could shift as a bonus action also and give themselves some extra protection. Or maybe this is a fighter that wants to have a extra layer of protection. Beast hide would be very valuable. The long tooth. So the beast hide are bears, boars, kind of your more rough creatures. Then we go to the long tooth, which is more of a canine or lupine form. It's a strength score increase and a dexterity score increase. You gain intimidation, and you have a bite attack. The swift stride are more feline. They get dexterity and charisma. Acrobatics is their skill, and they gain some movement features. The wild hunt is a wisdom score increase of 2. So once again, we have another wisdom score increase option for someone that wants that +2 wisdom, which was hard to find early on in Dungeons & Dragons, 5th edition. You're going to get a proficiency in survival. And here's an interesting feature. So while shifted, you have advantage on wisdom checks, which is great. And no creature within 30 feet of you can make an attack roll with advantage against you unless you're incapacitated. Huge feature right there. Huge feature. And the final race we're going to talk about here today is the Warforged. And the Warforged were built by House Cannith, which we're going to go into dragon marks and houses later. But House Cannith designed and built the Warforged for the last war. Since the last war and the Treaty of Thrones Hold, I believe it's called, I would have to look that up to verify, they are now free. They're no longer bonded soldiers, although some of them may still be house soldiers, house guards. They are allowed to choose their own path. Warforged are made out of wood, stone, and metal, but they'll say living steel and stone here. But wood will be the organic material that bonds the metal and the stone and other components together. Warforged, regardless of what you may think, they still rest. They still gain benefits from short and long rests. They still gain the benefit of healing magic. They're not constructs. They don't have to be mended. They get the benefit of healing magic. You can still use medicine skill checks on them. All that stuff, they count as a standard humanoid creature for all the healing benefits that it offers. Warforged personalities will typically have quirks. They weren't really encouraged to have personalities when they were soldiers. So a lot of them are trying to explore the world and find identity. In one of the campaigns we have now, we have a player who's playing a monk Warforged, who the players decided to kind of give him a different trait each time we play, where he's trying to figure out what his place is. He has a lot of knowledge and skills, but who is he? He's trying out different accents. He's sometimes nice. He's sometimes rude. He doesn't really have his identity figured out. It's been quite fun. Warforged get a Constitution bonus of 2 and a increase of 1 to any of the abilities of your choice. Any other ability. They have constructed resilience, where you were created to have remarkable fortitude, represented by the following benefits. Advantage on saving throws against being poisoned and resistance to poison. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. That's a huge one. We have a Warforged in our Saltmarsh campaign who doesn't need to breathe. So he's our diver. You are immune to disease. You don't need to sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. And speaking of the sleep part, we go to Century's Rest. When you take a long rest, you must spend at least 6 hours in the inactive state. But you are still considered conscious because you are not sleeping. You're just inactive to gain the benefits of a long rest. And you can still see and hear as normal. So you can still warn your party of something going on. Then we have integrated protection. Your body has built-in defensive layers which can enhance your armor. That +1 bonus to armor class is pretty big. It's a nice little bonus, especially early on in the game. And armor is bonded to you. So when you put on armor, it is on you. It cannot be removed. But it does take an hour, regardless of what type of armor. But the benefit here is you can rest with your armor. You don't have to take it off. So it doesn't encumber you and prevent you from resting. And then you have specialized design. You get a skill proficiency and tool proficiency. Which if you play a Warforged Artificer, you know all the things. You can pretty much have almost all the tools. If you do like a Guild Artisan background, Artificer, and Warforged, you're going to be able to do a lot of things. A lot of things. The next section of the book is Dragon Marks, which I'm going to have to research and study for quite a while, but I do intend on going through this. I find this is going to be a section that will be very helpful for a lot of people. So the next time we all meet up, next video, will probably be on Dragon Marks. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to my campaign in Eberron. I find these videos very helpful, and me processing this information, learning more about it, especially learning about it to share it with everyone else. So, thank you. Have a great day.